Thanks, Mark, and thank you, everybody. It's very, very moving for me today to see everybody's faces and pictures. For those of you who are not showing your screen, I'm feeling aware of how vulnerable I feel right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But in reading everybody's blessings for themselves and for others today, I want to perhaps encourage us to take a walk into that vulnerability today. And I'm going to start in a minute with a melody. Mark was mentioning embodied practice, and what we'll be exploring today is a connection between creation in this Shemitah year, and this year of perhaps paying a little more attention to the earth and her balance than we might otherwise, and our physical well-being, our physical bodies, and recognizing, if not, that we're already merged. And if that's new for us, then it's a new thing. So Adi, if you would be kind enough to share screen. I'm going to start with the melody that kind of came through for me this as I was preparing for today. And I'm seeing this as quite small. If other people are seeing it at a good size, then that's good. I'm going to maybe
I can zoom in once I know.
We're going to go to the top for now. Oh, this is not the right. No, not the right. That's not me. That's Jenny Solomon. I can do a screen share.
I'm sorry. I'll pull that right up. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. So everybody take a breath and allow your feet to find a comfortable resting place on what I'm going to call the ground or the earth. No matter what your feet are touching right now, imagine it is connected to the earth. Take a nice full breath. Thanks, Adi. Yehi or, 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 yehi or zarua. Or zarua, or zarua, or zarua, or zarua, or ye or zarua, ye. So let there be light. Light is sown. And as we move a little bit to look at the text right below this, in Parashat Tetzaveh, at the very beginning of the parasha, we read, Ve'ata tetzaveh et b'nei Yisrael, ve'yikchu elecha shemen zait zach, katit lama'or l'ha'alot ner tamid. You shall command the children of Israel, the Holy One is speaking to Moses, to command the children of Israel to bring you pure olive oil for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly. And this is the menorah, or the ner tamid, as it has become in our congregations, this light that is to be guiding us always. And I'd like us to look briefly at a couple of teachings that can connect us to the concept of the tabernacle as it relates to our physical selves and the connection to light in the same vein. So the Maggid of Mezrich said the tabernacle was the life of all the worlds. This can be understood by analogy to the soul. It is the life of the body, even though in itself, it has no form. So the soul is the life of the body, even though in itself it has no form. We name it, though, in terms of the body, speaking of the life energy that animates the arm or the leg. So Bezalel, who was the artist designing the tabernacle, in making the Mishkan as the site of this universal life force, had to understand how to bring life into the worlds. And so when we move into our meditation today, this will be an area of focus, of recognizing that we are bringing life first from our soul into our entire physical expression and then radiating it beyond us. And on that thought, if we look down a little bit to the Yalkut Shimoni, he talks about the menorah. We know that it was lit with olive oil. And he said that it was pure oil of pounded olives. He makes a very important distinction here, not with walnut oil, which is extraordinary, or radish seed oil, which I've never experienced, but only with olive oil that is a light unto the world. So hold that thought as we look down to one more text, if you would, Adi. And Shmuel Rabbah teaches us that Israel was called an olive tree, leafy and fair, because Israel shed light on all. So let's take a breath and just take that in for a second. And I invite you to allow yourself to bring your focus more inward now. You may choose to soften your gaze or close your eyes, whatever's most comfortable for you. And notice your breathing. Notice your heart. And maybe allow yourself to take a full breath, releasing what might be on your mind or what you might be aware of in your body, or perhaps emotions that are taking your attention. Another breath. And as you're allowing your attention to move to the heart, see if you can see what it feels like to connect with your soul. That may be really abstract and impossible, and it may be very accessible. Whatever it is for you, what might that feel like? We learn in our teachings that we are the tabernacle embodied. We are the holy vessel. Bringing light in, flowing it through, shining it out. We are as well. The olive tree. Perhaps you can picture in your mind's eye the floating of the olive tree in the breeze with its silvery leaves, its gnarly trunk, its exquisite fruit, its rootedness to the Mother Earth. And as we notice our feet on the ground, we too are being supported by the Earth Mother. All of the nutrients of the soil pushing through us. Perhaps you feel your trunk, your limbs. You might even imagine yourself stretching your shoulders, feeling the width of your body. And maybe even if you're inclined, allowing that to come out through your arms, extending those limbs as the tree that you are. And the light coursing through every one of us. The light from God's wisdom and breath. The light from holy creation. The light from our own soul. We are intimately interconnected. The light without and the light inside. And each time we take note of that inner light, or ask to seek and be blessed by the light of the Holy Creator, we renew our inner Mishkan, our tabernacle, literally our dwelling place. See if you can really feel that you are a dwelling place for the sacred. The sacred wisdom from the sky and the clouds and the stars and the air. Sacred wisdom from the core of the planet, the rocks, the seas, the trees and plants. Sacred wisdom of all of the creatures. From the smallest flea to our neighboring humans and the largest animals. All of that informs and is expressed through our personal Mishkan. So we'll take a few minutes in quiet with this experience, and we'll complete with a bow. As we prepare for Shabbat, remember that you are a holy place, that all light resides within you. That you are the olive tree, and light shines from you. You are whole and connected with all creation.
Thank you so much, Robin, for leading us, as always, so beautifully today, leading us into the Shabbat of Parshat Tetzaveh. Friends, we seal that practice as we do every day by offering an opportunity for those in mourning or observing yard sites to recite Kaddish, or if it's your custom to do so. For those who are not reciting Kaddish, we invite you to continue your practice by staying present, by offering that light that Robin described so beautifully to those who are, by staying present and offering compassionate attention and remaining here as they recite the mourner's Kaddish. If you're reciting Kaddish and would like to put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box, you can do so now or after we complete the Kaddish. And I invite those of you who are reciting it to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite the words together. Gadol, Gadash,
Kadash me Rabbi, Mirei te, Amalek,
Mechon,
Yukon, Yukon,
Agala,
Bet Israel, Agam,
Shmi Rabba Bahara, Yalam, Leomaya,
Yeshma Rabam, Vishra, Vitar, 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 Vitamel, Vitara, Shmei Kudishal, Elam, Kol, Bechata, Visharta, Tu Bishkata, Dinanaka, Da'amim, Ba'alam, Vimru, Amen. Shmelma, Rabam, Shemaya, Chaye, Yom Aleinu, Ba'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Vimru, Amen.
Shalom, Aleinu v'Al
And thanks so much to all of you for joining us today. And for those who are leaving us now, I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom, a sweet Shabbat. We hope you'll join us next week. We have a full week of practice at this time. Of course, yoga on Monday and Torah study on Thursday as well. I want to thank Adi Stein for holding our tech Mishkan, our tech sanctuary, so beautifully as always, and Linda Joseph for sponsoring our practice today in loving memory of her mom, Rhoda Josephs, on the recent 25th anniversary of her yard site. Zichrona Libracha, may her memory be a blessing, Linda, for you, for all whose lives she touched in this world, as she is now for us, as a result of your bringing her spirit and soul into our practice today. You're invited to stay on for some conversation with our teacher for today, Rabbi Robin Damsky. And if you have a question for Robin, please put it in the chat box. If you want to just share a reflection on the experience today, that's always lovely as well. We'll keep an eye on the chat box. And if it's in the form of a question, if you can preface it by writing question in all caps, easier to spot the questions along the way. Robin, that was just beautiful. And I always appreciate, I'm putting by the way, I put your website link in for those who are interested, before we go too far, Limitless Judaism, which I know is a relatively new venture. So really encourage people to check out the wonderful teaching work that Robin is doing. Really always appreciate how you integrate meditation, embodied practice, and text so seamlessly. And it's not necessarily like an easy parsha to do that, but this week has some wonderful teaching. So I want to go back for a second, and also ask you. It sounds like that chant is your chant, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Oops. Yes.
Yes. Can you hear
It's
me?
your chant. Hold on. I am not hearing you, which I think is on my end.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Great.
Sweet. Okay, great.
Okay, excellent.
So yes, that was my chant. And sometimes they'll come through. I want to acknowledge that this was really a tough parasha. I thought, okay, I really wanted to work with the colors of the vestments, but I couldn't find enough that really made it fit. And when I saw those texts about the olives, I thought, wow. And that's where I went. That's
great. So I want to just review the teaching for a second, okay? Just so we can hold it, right? So we have this. First of all, the pasuk, the verse from the Torah itself, is the one about bringing shemen zayit, olive oil, zach, clear, pure olive oil, pressed, katit, for the lamp, right? Say, well, what is that? What is that oil? By the way, I love the radish oil and have not seen that marketed anywhere, but if anybody does,
right? I'm going to have to look for it now.
It must have a nice bite to it, you know?
I imagine.
So the Maggid's teaching here, of course, spiritualizes this. We're not talking, we're talking about, actual EEVO, or EVVO, right? Extra virgin olive oil. No, EVOO.
Yeah.
I should know that. Extra virgin olive oil. But it also, though it's real oil, it also represents something that is just as true in other dimensions and other realms, right? So our bodies are like a mishkan, which we got a week ago. Genevieve Greinitz was teaching us and focused on that. Today, focusing on the oil, which represents the animating life energy, which you also connected with light, right? So we can become aware that this oil is flowing through us, and specifically, it's the olive tree. So I wanted to bring in a visual here. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yeah,
because I loved how you described the olive trees. This is Van Gogh, of course. So here's my visual for your teaching today. What I loved about why olive trees? Why not a radish? Why not a radish? Why not a walnut tree? What caught me, and maybe others here today too, is the gnarly, beautiful, imperfect shape of an olive tree, right? It's not like a cedar or or a palm tree even, really. It's right. It's has the twists and turns, and it almost like they look like they're dancing, right? I don't know what fascinated Van Gogh about olive trees, but they clearly were. So I just wanted to invite you, since I know that the connection between ourselves and the natural world is very central to your teaching, to say maybe a little bit more about what it means to experience ourselves as the olive tree.
Yeah, thank you. And did you want us to look at something from Van Gogh, because we're not seeing that?
You didn't see it? Oh
no.
Oh no, I did. Here.
Let's do that, because that I think would be meaningful for people.
Are people saying it or not saying it?
There we go. Yes, I got it. Everybody, yeah, hand raised.
Yeah,
you got
definitely.
It? Yeah, extraordinary, extraordinary piece. Thank you for that. What was your question?
My question was, oh boy, my question is about the olive trees. I'm looking at those olive trees. I'll put it back up again in a minute, maybe while you're talking about this, because you invited us to, I heard you at least invite us to experience ourselves as
Yeah.
olive trees, gnarly, twisted.
Right.
Um, they don't look like they're off balance. But my point is, when I was looking at them, I think of them as almost in motion and dancing and dynamic, right?
Yes. Yes. So a few thoughts. First of all, I was reading in Haruvani's books. He has a few books on plants and ecological approaches to biblical plants and such. And one of the things that he talked about is he compared the olive to some other trees in the land of Israel. And one of the things that he said is that there's some trees that a lot of branches are allowed to grow out. But if that should happen on an olive tree, it's trimmed back so that only one or two shoots are allowed to come out from the tree, the strongest ones. And those are actually removed from the tree to then begin a new tree. So a few things. First of all, the olive trees that we may think about in the land of Israel could be hundreds of years old, which isn't to say that that's not true for many trees, because there are many, many trees that are hundreds of years old. And nonetheless, we are, as a people, particularly wedded to this tree and other trees, but wedded to this tree specifically for what it produces for us traditionally as light, right? Even today, there are many people who will take their Hanukkah and they'll get the little oil Hanukkah instead of the candles and pour a little bit of olive oil into each of those areas to light their Hanukkah, which is another kind of a menorah. So the olive, perhaps its physical stance is reminiscent of all the trials and tribulations that we've gone through as a people, that may gnarl us or tighten us or harden us or maybe create lines in us. And at the same time, we're shimmering and we're moving. And as the wind hits, there's this dance, as you said. And then there's this production of this amazing substance, which not only is so significant in our tradition, in terms of, olives and olive oil, but also as its symbol of light, of the expression of light. Mm-hmm. And that was something I hadn't seen before, that the olive tree, that Israel is the olive tree giving out light. And I love that, particularly in a time where there's so much anti-Semitism, so much pain in the world from the pandemic and so many other things, to stop and think that, wow, I am a source of light. And if I can remember that when things are challenging or painful or I'm feeling gnarled up, say, oh yeah, there's light here, and I can connect to the light within, and I can shine it out and create more healing in the world.
Well, you certainly do that. I want to bring back, I'm really, for whatever reason, maybe just because it's Friday, and connecting this teaching today with last week's with Genevieve Greinitz and the Mishkan, which led me down a rabbit hole of doing some research, because her meditation was about imagining our body as the Mishkan, and things in space and the space between the things in space, which led me to do some research about, on an atomic level, this is where we're getting to the light that you're describing, on an atomic level, that we are 99% space between the electrons, neutrons, and protons. Every atom of our body is almost entirely space. In fact, this blew my mind. If you took all the atoms of all the human beings in the world and compressed the atoms without that space into something solid, it would be the size of a sugar cube. The size of a sugar cube that weighed the weight of every person on Earth. And everything else is the space in between, but it's not actually space, because in quantum physics, they see the energy kind of dancing in that space. So it looks empty, but it's not. And that is, for those who are scientifically inclined, it sort of supports the teaching that you're describing, that we actually literally are beings of light, even in our bodies. something about that just like blew my mind, and has changed all the sits this week for me.
Wow, amazing. So it's doubly fascinating to me that you're bringing this in, because my partner Michael works with the quantum world in terms of his work with men and how we're all interconnected. And we watch a lot of movies on quantum physics, a lot of shows on quantum physics. So I'm learning. And yeah, I learned when I was young that molecules dance. Nothing is static.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is static. We may experience our bodies as feeling static, like hurting, the hip isn't opening the way I'd like it to. Nonetheless, we are constantly in motion. That when we breathe, I learned when I studied massage a long time ago, that if we're breathing fully, every single bone in our body should move. And the only time that ceases to occur is when we're actually holding things from moving. And that's what creates, that's how we experience lack of ease, which then is dis-ease. Dis-ease is lack of ease in the body. And as soon as we connect back with our breath, oh, wow, there's that light. There's that dance. There's that vitality in that movement. And even if I don't feel it in every single cell of my body, because maybe I'm not even aware of every single cell of my body, whatever I can bring in brings vitality and vibrancy, again, light, to me. And then, as a natural phenomenon, right? Newton, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If I'm bringing light in, I have to be radiating light out. Otherwise, it has to go somewhere, or I'll explode like a balloon. I'll pop up like a balloon and I'll explode.
Well, you're gonna have to share your Netflix queue with all of us, so that
I'll have to get some of those in.
Watch all these documentaries together.
Yeah, Michael's really on top of those, and I'll create a list and I'll get it to you.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
Well, I think go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish.
Well, I was also going to say there's like another slight variation on the theme is this movie out. Is it the Fabulous World of Fungi or the Fantastic World of Fungi? Anybody seen that? It's on Netflix. Grab it. It's remarkable, and it's about the interconnections of us with the planets, the planet, and again, the same kind of network of interconnectedness.
Wow. By the way, you should save the chat. There's a lot of in addition to the there's a lot of interesting stuff.
I will do that. I'm sorry that I didn't get to look at it very much today. So if anybody had fantastic fungi, thanks. If anybody had a particular message for me that I didn't respond to, please feel free to email me at limitlessjudaism@gmail.com or send me a Facebook message. Check me out on my website, limitlessjudaism.com. And it's nice. It's always nice and special sharing this journey with you.
Thank you, Robin. If you don't mind, how about you want to take us out with the chant again?
Sure.
I'm putting in the chat box, by the way, the link to that. Maybe you can check out also whether with Michael, since he knows something about this, and I am a total amateur. I'm gonna open that. But I will share here the words, and why don't we bring this into the rest of our day and into Shabbat together? And thanks for this beautiful chant, Robin.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you everybody for sharing this time. Yehi-oh, 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 zarua, zarua, yehi-oh, 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 Yehior, Yehior, Zarua.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Robin. As always, much appreciation to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, Linda, for sponsoring, Adi, and thank you all for being here. Hope to see you next week on Monday. And wishing everyone a sweet, light-filled Shabbat and weekend, and we hope to see you soon. Okay, many blessings.